You know what's strange about people born in the 1990s? You probably don't know where you fit. Too young to claim Gen X's slacker credibility. Too old to fully embrace the millennial identity everyone keeps forcing on you. When people talk about kids these days, they're not talking about you. But when they talk about back in my day, you're not quite old enough for that either. You exist in permanent generational limbo. Neither Gen X nor millennial, just there, watching everyone else get labeled while you slip through the cracks. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Being born in the 80s didn't just put you between two generations, it put you between two entire worlds. You had an analog childhood and a digital adulthood. You played outside until dark, then came home to AOL Instant Messenger. You remember rotary phones and smartphones, VHS tapes and streaming. A time when privacy was normal, and a time when everything became public. That split isn't just nostalgia, it's psychology, and it shaped you in ways that make you fundamentally different from everyone on either side of you. Close your eyes. Go back to 1988, maybe 1991. You're 8 years old and it's Saturday morning. No alarm. You wake up naturally, pour yourself a bowl of cereal with a toy surprise inside, and plant yourself 3 feet from the television. Transformers, He-Man, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, cartoons that actually ended. When they were over, they were over. No streaming, no rewatching. You either caught it or you didn't. Then you went outside, not because your parents made you, because that's where life happened. You rode your bike without a helmet to your friend's house and knocked on their door. Actually knocked, stood there and waited, talked to their mom, asked if they could come out. No texts, no "you up?" No GPS tracking your location. You disappeared for hours, built forts in the woods, played tag until someone got hurt, came home when the streetlights flickered on because that was the rule. Scraped knees weren't emergencies. They were proof you'd actually lived that day. Here's what that created. Self-sufficiency that younger generations don't develop. You learn to entertain yourself, to solve problems, to navigate social dynamics without adult intervention. When you and your friends had drama, you figured it out. On the playground, in someone's backyard, not in a group chat with screenshots sent to parents. Boredom was mandatory, and boredom built creativity. You invented games, wrote stories, drew pictures, sat in your room staring at the ceiling and let your mind wander. That's where imagination came from. Empty space, silence, time to think. Kids today don't have that. They never will. You're the last generation who remembers what unstimulated childhood feels like. Then everything changed, and it happened while you were still figuring out who you were. You're 14, maybe 16. Someone mentions the internet. You don't really understand what that means. Your family gets dial-up. That horrible screeching sound, waiting 5 minutes for a single web page to load. You thought it was amazing. You made your first email address, something embarrassing like sk8ergirl2000 or xxsoccerstar88. You discovered chat rooms, AIMICQ. You spent hours crafting the perfect away message, song lyrics, inside jokes, trying to seem mysterious to your crush who might log on after dinner. And then it accelerated, faster than you could process. MySpace let you customize your entire profile, pick your top 8 friends, choose a song. You spent hours learning HTML just to make your page look cool. Then Facebook arrived and stripped all that away. Clean, uniform, everyone looking the same. By the time you were in your 20s, smartphones, Instagram, Twitter, the entire world went digital. And you went with it because you had to. You adapted, learned every platform, downloaded every app. But part of you remembers the before times, when you could disappear, when mistakes stayed private, when your entire social life didn't require performing for an audience. Younger millennials don't remember that world. Gen Z never knew it existed. But you carry both. The memory of analog freedom and the fluency of digital connection. And that split creates psychological tension nobody talks about. You're comfortable with technology but exhausted by it. You can navigate any platform, but you miss the simplicity of just calling someone. You understand social media, but you resent the pressure to curate your life. You're bilingual in ways that make you valuable at work, but isolated everywhere else. Let's talk about what really broke something inside 80s babies. The timing. Older 80s babies, 1980 to 1984. You graduated college right into the 2008 recession, walked across that stage with your diploma, and walked straight into economic collapse. Everything you were promised evaporated. Jobs disappeared. Entry-level positions that required 5 years of experience. Student loans you couldn't pay. Moving back in with your parents. Watching your degree collect dust while you worked retail. Younger 80s babies, 1985 to 1989, you entered the workforce during the recovery. But it was a gutted recovery. Wages stagnant. Housing unaffordable. You did everything your parents did and got a fraction of what they received. They bought houses at 25 on single incomes. You're 40 and still renting. Either way, you got economically hammered, and it taught you something brutal. Hard work doesn't guarantee success. The system your parents believed in died before you could benefit from it. And when you point this out, they call you entitled, lazy. Tell you to stop buying coffee and you'll afford a house. As if lattes are why you can't afford a down payment in a market where homes cost 10 times what they cost in 1985. That's not just frustrating. It's psychologically damaging. Because you internalize it. You wonder if maybe they're right. Maybe you're not working hard enough. Maybe you're doing something wrong, even though the math doesn't add up, even though the goalposts moved before you even started running. 46% of 80s babies report chronic stress. Not situational stress, chronic. The kind that doesn't go away, the kind that follows you into bed at night and greets you when you wake up. Because you're working harder than your parents did for less security, and nobody acknowledges that. Here's what makes 80s babies unique psychologically. You don't fit anywhere, and you never will. Gen X looks at you and sees millennials, participation trophies, avocado toast, everything they complain about, even though you remember a childhood closer to theirs than to younger millennials. Millennials look at you and see something older, out of touch, not quite getting it. Even though you pioneered the same technology they grew up with. You're the generational middle child, overlooked, forgotten, expected to just deal with it quietly while the louder siblings get all the attention. And that creates a specific kind of loneliness. You don't have a clear identity, no cultural movement to claim, no defining moment that unified you, just this vague sense of being between things. Too late for some experiences, too early for others. Some call you Zennials, Oregon Trail Generation, Elder Millennials, but none of those labels quite fit, because you're not a cohesive group. You're individuals scattered across a decade who happen to share the experience of growing up during a specific technological shift. But here's what 80s babies have that nobody else does. Perspective. You remember what life was like before constant connectivity, so you can recognize when technology improves things and when it just complicates them. You value face-to-face conversation because you remember when that was the only option. You appreciate privacy because you lived through its death. You're adaptable, not because you wanted to be, because you had to be. The world changed underneath you, and you learned to change with it. That's not a small thing. That's resilience born from necessity. And you bridge gaps. At work, you translate between older colleagues who don't understand new technology and younger ones who can't imagine life without it. You explain cultural references that span decades. You make connections others can't because you've lived in multiple worlds. You're not better than other generations. You're just different, shaped by timing, by being born at the exact moment when everything shifted. And maybe that's enough. If this felt like someone finally saw you, you're not alone. 80s babies have been invisible for too long. This channel is for the forgotten ones, the in-between generation that nobody bothers to name. Subscribe to explore what makes you who you are, and drop your birth year below. Let's find each other, because maybe if enough of us speak up, they'll stop forgetting we exist.